Hey Charlie, how you doing? I'm Blake from Hyperreal Film Journal.
Good to meet you. I'm familiar with you guys.
Oh, nice. May I ask how so?
Um, I know you guys have already done a little bit about this film, and then some of my shorts in the past, I believe you featured as well.
Oh, sick. Very
Yeah,
cool.
like we're
Well, I
like
wanted to start
my
off.
last one was 2020, so we're going back a while here, but we're gonna do a quick Google cheat. But yeah.
Well, I know we do show some of the older ones or from 2020 and onward. We just kind of show whatever we have in our repertoire
hmm
throughout if it fits with a movie. So that's awesome that you've had a few show with us already. Cool. Were you able to attend in person for those? Because we like to have the filmmakers there
No, no,
sometimes.
nothing like that. It's yeah, and I'm looking at my maybe it wasn't one of my films, maybe it was a friend's film from years before, but
Okay.
yes, radars are overlapping here.
Okay, well, sick. It's cool to have you in the family. But I wanted to start off by saying that I loved the AI doc. I thought what you all did was really cool. It found a way to balance out what could be taken as an information overload over that
hmm
course of that hour and 40 minutes, but still found a way to kind of parse through it while still giving it a heart and a lot of character. And while watching the movie, you see Daniel's perspective on a lot of this, but I wanted to kind of get where were you at during all of this? I know Daniel's kind of our protagonist, but as the co-director, what was kind of your involvement here?
Yeah, I mean, right behind him and off camera, basically. For both sometimes physically. A lot of the interviews I wasn't there, but mo most of the time just spiritually. Daniel and I both found we were having kids the same week, so the anxieties that he was experiencing and that you watch unfold in the story, I was also feeling. Just like I said, quietly and off camera, and I'm very grateful for that. Um, and yeah, this film was, I mean, this film was a huge team, and I was kind of brought up into work with all these Academy Award winners and people that had experience in making features, and this was my first feature, so it was scary and intimidating, but uh, I've I've worked in this medium long enough to know that I can't hide from my own sensibilities as a filmmaker and what tools I have as a storyteller, which are generally the um, internal processing of something, as well as, just being kind of sincere with your perspective on it. So, in terms of like a workload thing, um, Daniel's doing more of the interviews. I was doing more of the visuals and animation. We were both pretty tandem on, the edit and the story and the research and all that. But it was just this kind of job of figuring out how to go into the subject rather than trying to nail the perfect process for us as filmmakers together, because this is just such a huge, it's like make a documentary about transportation, right? It's this
Yeah.
huge topic that doesn't really have any clarity on, like, hey, like look at this one specific thing, there's a story. It's going at it from way zoomed out, zooming way in, zooming way back out, and doing that process and turning over every stone as we go. Like, this film was supposed to be 8 months, and it was 2.5 years, and a lot of that was because we had to figure out what it was as we went, and we needed the time to do that, and we needed the space to do that.
So, as you all were working on this, like you said, it was an ever evolving project because the medium was ever evolving. Were there
hmm
any big difficulties that might have popped up in the news one day where you had to go, like, oh, well, we just lost like hours of things that we've been working on here?
Um, it was, and I've used this example before, but very early on, we knew that one of our main goals had to be to find the most evergreen version of this story, because this landscape is changing oftentimes daily, and if we were reactionary to many of the events that unfolded during the course of making this film, then we would have just had an outdated and irrelevant film that the people wouldn't need right now. Um, one thing that happened was when Sam Altman was ousted by his board, in later in 2023, and we kind of went into panic mode. Like, how do we navigate the story to include this? How do we, this is a huge thing that happened. This belongs in the film. Um, what what do we do here? We were kind of figuring that out and scrambling a bit. And then if you're familiar with that event, I think it was, a couple days later that he was back on his board. So that
Mhm.
kind of really confirmed like, okay, hold on, we need to hold on to this evergreen measured approach to tell this story because things like that are just going to keep happening. And if we got, our crew and cameras on planes and found really tried to tackle that moment, then yeah, we would have wasted some resources and had some probably unusable footage in a world where filmmaking, where it's all a balance of finite resources, um, that we probably would have had to sacrifice something else because we spent time and effort on that.
That makes sense. So earlier you said that it was about finding a balance between sincerity and that you predominantly were, or not predominantly, but you spent a lot of time working on the animation and all
Hmm.
that. And something that I found really interesting in the movie was that whenever it starts to get a little techno babbly, because you're dealing with a lot of people that can
Hmm.
explain these things, but maybe not to the layman, right?
Yeah.
It would always intercut really quickly once it got too far over the edge with an animation or just something to prove like this is something handmade that real people had to make this. An AI couldn't necessarily make this movie, right?
Mhm.
How did you all find that balance in when it got too far into the weeds, figuring out, okay, we need to throw that in here, we need to throw this in there?
Yeah, that's a really good, really observant question, Blake. And I'm grateful for it. That's the we really had to work to find a rhythm for this story because it is a lot of information. It's a lot to hold on to. And if this is just a film of a series of talking heads that are, no matter how true with a capital T the information is, um, you're going to get a disengagement from an audience member. You need to give them kind of these lily pads to jump to stay engaged with the story, but um, it's not quite as superficial as that either. Like what a lot of these subjects are talking about are things that are still in a average viewer's mind and in my own mind, like these pretty abstract things, and these things that are kind of maybe, you can, some of that disengage, I mean, I have ADHD also, and some of that disengagement might be because someone says one thing and then I start spending some time imagining what that thing might be while someone else continues to talk, and then suddenly I'm losing the story. I'm not keeping up with the story. So to show our own interpretations of these abstract concepts, you're giving the audience, or I find that you're giving the audience a little bit of a life raft to hold on to go like, okay, Daniel sees it as a magical computer box. That's there it is in the film. Okay, so every time we go back to this, it's this familiar space, and I'm seeing this thing shape with the story, and I'm seeing it represent these other things that they're talking about, um, rather than just kind of drumming up more confusion. You're giving kind of a bit of a continuity to the story. And I'm rambling here a bit, but I mean, animation is something that I
No,
value
it's great.
so much, and with this film, it was really just this Herculean task to, you know, we kind of just built out of our studio in Toronto with stop motion department. We built a copy of Daniel's shack, his art studio. We built this magical computer box, which is all those little cubes and with tiny magnets, and we changed them for every frame. A team of wonderful and amazing animators, and all these technical challenges of like, okay, how do we make this thing that's just a cube do this and do that? How do we make its head split apart and have all these kind of this tech debris dump into it? It was just kind of one challenge after another, but all of it was to serve the story to, like I said, represent these kind of an impression of these ideas and concepts so people had, it's not just to give them B-roll to see, so it's a little bit different. It's to give them kind of this world that is Daniel's internal world, so that we're feeling things just as much as we're hearing about them and learning about them. That we're seeing this kind of ominous, but still kind of looks like a happy little guy thing that like, okay, do I trust you? Do I not? To give someone something to bounce not just their intellect off, but their emotions.
Yeah. That's so interesting to me because while you're watching it, it does. evolved, right? With each chapter, you start off kind of with the optimist, or it starts off with like the doomsday, right? And then you get the
Mhm.
optimist. To go from there, I wanted to know, would you consider yourself, after learning all of this, an apocalyptimist, or are you more so still working through it, going through the day by day and learning all
Yeah.
the news and trying to figure out what's going on?
Still very much working through it, but I guess apocalyptimism is an acknowledgement that it's not going to be one or the other. It is going to be both, and we're going to have to hold on to both those things and work through both of those things simultaneously. All the good things it can do and all the terrible things it can do, um, while working through it. Like I'm never not going to be working through it. This is, as we say in the film, it's a relationship and one that you're going to have to live with. Um, and it was a goal of this film when we started incorrectly to kind of what's the thing that we can learn about this technology or the thing we can show about so we never have to think about it again. But through making this film, we learned that that's not the case. It's not something that you can just go in and show and here's the answer and then goodbye. It's here forever.
Nice. Okay, so it looks like we're starting to run out of time. So I just had a
Mhm.
couple questions. One of them's a bit of a fastball.
Mhm.
We've all had different jobs, right? What would you say is the one job that you've had outside of filmmaking, right, that you don't believe could ever be replaced by automation? That's something that no one can do. For me, it's restaurants where, yeah, a
Yep.
machine could make the food, right? But there's a certain heart that goes into all those recipes.
Yep. I mean, I think, okay, man, I've worked at a restaurant as well as a dishwasher. I've been a butcher. I've, you know, cleaned places. I've done a lot of, I was a paper boy when I was a little kid, or like, and sure, you could come in and say, yeah, a machine can do any of those jobs, but the appetite of the people interacting with those professions is what's going to determine whether it does or doesn't, I think. Um, are there going to be restaurants where people just want food, want sustenance, they don't really care? Um, give it to me, then machines made all of it, probably. And then are there going to be people who want to have the culinary experience where they go with friends or they go with a companion and they want the environment and they want the night and they want the experience, good and bad, but they want to be in a room with other human beings, including human beings that made the food? Yes. So will there be room for both? That's going to be decided by how much we allow our species to hand things over to automation. And I say that with the note that it's individually and collectively we're going to have to speak to that now, because if we don't, tech companies are going to decide for us. And then we're going to be in a world where we, you know, leaned into what seemed like quick convenience without realizing or taking stock of what we were handing over for that convenience.
I feel like that's a perfect way to end it. Thank you so much,
Really good
Charlie, for your
questions, Blake.
time.
This
This
is a
was a
good
great
hang. I wish we
conversation.
had more time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, maybe one day, you know. But
Yeah.
I thank you for allowing me to see the movie. I was there when you introed to AFS, so it was really cool to see that. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
amazing.
sorry, you were gonna say something else. My fault.
No, no, no. So you were there last night then?
No, I was there. It was that Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah,
I
I
want to
wasn't
say it
there,
was
I don't think. It may have
no, I
been.
think you introed it at the at AFS. It was a busy week. Sorry.
No, like this past
You're a
Saturday?
tall. No, it was like 2 weeks ago during South by.
Oh, Austin Film Society. Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Sorry. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah.
yes, yes.
I
Excuse
was
me.
there.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
All
because
good.
well, I was going to ask like where you're from because I'm hearing your accent and that sounds like Texas.
Okay, so that's funny you say that. I'm from Indianapolis, or
Okay.
Indianapolis, excuse me. I've been here for the past 4 years now, though.
Okay,
So I
okay. So
might have
you're
taken on some of that,
yeah.
just living in a place, you know? And I don't think Midwest necessarily has an accent. It's more like the chameleon of accents where it all just
It
kind
does.
of
We you,
folds
sh- you
into it.
overlap with us and it's yeah, it's one that's easy to get rid of, I found. Like people, yeah,
1000%. Unless I
yeah,
was from Minnesota, that accent is fluid. Yeah.
yeah, totally. Hell yeah. Well, so good to meet you, Blake. And yeah, thanks for being there at the screen. I'm glad you were there. And yeah, yeah, hope to cross paths down the road.
Absolutely. This was great. Thank you so much.
Hell yeah. I'll see you later.